see here. Sorry if I'm live and I've screwed this up. I forgot to push a button. Just give me a second here. Happening now. My video. All right. We're going to go live now. So I'll start once I click the button. All right, sorry for the delay. I forgot to push a button earlier, and Ricky started talking, and we weren't on. So thank you for joining us. Sorry we're a bit late here. I'm Melissa Wagner, the Women Anglers Co-Education Director. I have Jean Clark, the other Co-Education Director, behind the scenes. She's going to be feeding me any questions that you ladies might have tonight. But I am proud to welcome Ricky Harris, who is with Omnia, and he's going to give us a little overview of their website, as well as highlight their Omnia Pro app, which has some really neat features to use while you're out on the water or you're researching your future fishing trip, where you might want to go, what tackle you might need to purchase. And a lot of those features can be done right through their site. And so Ricky's going to kind of give us an overview of the website as well as the Omnia Pro app, which maybe some of you have already downloaded. There's a 7-day free trial, so you can give it a try and see if you like it. And then WHAM, they're also one of our sponsors, and so you can purchase a 1-year membership for $59, and then you'll receive a $50 gift card to the Omnia site to spend and buy some of that tackle that you're going to need. And so a little surprise for tonight as well is I have 3 $20 gift cards that I want to give away at the end of the presentation. And so Jean will be helping me behind the scenes. If you have any questions, post them in the chat. And if we don't get to them tonight, Ricky said he's willing to follow up through email or whatever if people are having any questions about how to use the app or what it has to offer. So take it away, Ricky. Sorry about the delay, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. I appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to go through our site and just talk a little bit about, what it is that we do at Omnia, and touch on a little bit of the new features that we've just released for some of you that may be familiar with us already. But for those of you who aren't, we're Omnia Fishing. We're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Omnia has been around since about 2019, I want to say. And what we've always really strived to do as a company is provide the most personalized tackle shopping experience that we can to, all of our users, regardless of where you live or what species or lakes that you like to fish. So this is just kind of the homepage here. This is my own personal page. And, as you can see here, you've got, the ability to pull up your full dashboard here. And this is kind of your main hub. You can look at order history. You can set up email alerts for any products that you want to be notified when they come back in stock. And that's with our wish list. And the email alerts, you can get emailed for different videos that get uploaded to the site from your favorite creators or on your favorite lakes, as well as fishing reports. So this is just kind of a brief overview here. Now I'm actually based out of Kentucky. And I work remotely for Omnia, but this is just some of the lakes that I follow personally. I'm able to see the fishing reports that have been reported recently right here. And it's super handy. I love being able to reference this anytime I'm getting ready to go out fishing on a weekend. I don't know exactly where to go. I can pull up and see fishing reports from all the local lakes around me, and really get an idea of what's going on very quickly. So that's just kind of a brief overview of our dashboard there. But, in Omnia, we carry a variety of different products, from really almost every national brand across the country. You'll see here on my page that it says popular and trending near you. So this is actually, products that are specifically generated to me based on, some of the inputs that I've given as far as the species that I like to target, the lakes I like to fish, et cetera. So you can really get, such a personalized experience. But, again, too, for those of you that, are looking to, exactly what you want, and you don't necessarily need all that, we have our traditional shopping experience, here where you can go and select, any products and be able to look at the specific variants and things like that. So, it's our shopping experience can be, similar to other ones online, or, with our, all the data and things that we provide, we can really cater a lot of information to you. So that's kind of, one of the main facets of our business, obviously, is the, commerce side of things with the products that we sell. But what I wanted to touch on today really is the mapping side of what we do. And this is kind of what ties in our pro membership that I'll touch on. So being a pro member with Omnia, not only do you get 10% cash back on your purchases in the form of credit on your account. If you saw there in my dashboard, there'll actually be a running total. So you can actually see at any given time how much credit that you have in your account. So it's not, a bunch of gift cards you've got in your, billfold, purse, whatever it may be, that you're trying to keep track of and know how much that you've got on them. So all that is tracked right there. And so let me get back here to the map page. But with that credit, you'll, for anyone that uses the code WAM Pro, you'll get a $50 gift card issued into your account once you purchase Pro. And you have to do that through the web at omniafishing.com/pro. And I'll show you that page real quick here as well. If you go here to this page specifically, and I already have Pro, but it'll give you a selection to buy Pro for the year. And that's where you'll go and enter that code. But you'll get a $50 gift card right away. And then with being a Pro member, you'll get 10% cash back in the form of credit there in your dashboard as well. And you get free shipping with no minimums all year. So one of the things that's really great is, if you only maybe need a couple of packs of, a certain color worm that you just ran out of, or, maybe just some weights or some hooks, something small, you can place that order and still be able to get free shipping, which is, super nice, because sometimes you just don't need a lot of stuff. So that's kind of the commerce side benefits of Pro. But then we'll get in here now to the map with the Pro side of things. So we'll use, let me go, we'll start with Lake Mille Lacs here. Just it's kind of a brief overview. For those of you who aren't familiar with the map, we have a variety of different selections over here that you can pick from the terrain view, fishing reports. We're looking at hot baits currently here right now. So these are all hot baits that have been reported within this area. And if you'll actually notice, when you scroll inward and outward, it will actually, you'll see it's showing 8 featured hot baits in this area. So excuse me, if you're wanting to look at a larger area, say you don't really know necessarily where you're wanting to go fishing this upcoming weekend, then you actually have the ability to look at it at a broad scale and be able to get an idea of, what products might I need to, go fish just in this area in general for this time. And then if you really want to start drilling it down to specific lakes, then, you can easily zoom in here and we can select Mille Lacs specifically, and, it'll show products just for Mille Lacs, and that'll actually change, based on where you're at. So it gives you a really, detailed view of what products that you're going to be looking at. And, with this too, it also shows you the technique and the structure that it's most commonly associated with on that lake. So just again, using Mille Lacs as an example, this is something that's fairly new that we've just released here. Our, excuse me, we have some AI fishing report summaries. So again, what I showed you on the product page, we take these AI summaries from fishing reports, and we're actually able to pull all that data and basically summarize it into a, kind of easily digestible, bit of reading. So you're not having to scroll through, potentially hundreds of fishing reports to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So for this purpose, we'll look at largemouth bass, and we'll look at, spring, the season we're currently in. So seasonal patterns, we're, looking at pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn, because we kind of split spring into 3 different, quadrants because it can really vary. But, some of the behavioral patterns, largemouth bass are transitioning from winter areas to pre-spawning staging areas. Once you get down here to, post-spawn, they start actively feeding, recovering energy. So, this is just kind of a quick synopsis of what, we've pulled from hundreds of different reports that, have actually been reported from, real anglers just like yourselves. So it's a lot of really, really cool and valuable information here. And the species insights is another thing I want to touch on, because this is also brand new to us as well. Is we actually have a lot of survey data from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources when it comes to electrofishing, different surveys that they've taken to show the abundance of fish in the lakes, and then the recordings of the average, sizes and potential trophy. So, for like this instance in Mille Lacs, based on the survey data, there's a high abundance of largemouth bass, and the 2.7 inches is the average length. But if you actually see here, it's the historical CPUE has actually been climbing up over the last few years here. So that's, is an indicator that the lake is become a lot more healthy. And you can actually get in here and drill it down just a little bit further too, to show some of these different things. So like I said, again, there's a lot of really interesting information in here that you're able to access with Pro. And a lot of these things are available. Just, you can go in there and utilize them now without Pro. Just like you'll see here on the Mille Lacs page, these couple sections here are restricted to Pro members. But again, there's a lot of this information that is available to everyone, so don't feel like you can't, get on here and start playing around with some of the maps and checking out some of the lakes that, you're potentially going to be fishing. So just kind of looking at Mille Lacs here too, I'll touch on some of these other, we kind of looked at hot baits. This right here is, we're currently looking at these orange pins that you'll see here with the little bubble below them. Those are what we call lake pins. So that, that basically just takes you back to that overview page there for Lake Mille Lacs. But look at this. One of the cool things I want to show is boat landings too. This is something that is, critical, especially on a lake like Mille Lacs. Sometimes the wind could potentially be blowing, one direction, and you want to put in and stay on maybe a certain side of the lake, or, just for, reference as far as what ramp may be the closest to you. We actually have all the landings listed here, so you can actually click on them, and we'll show you the ones that are public, and then some that are also semi-private as well, because there's nothing worse than getting to a boat ramp and not being able to actually get access to it. I know from personal experience, I've done that before, seeing a boat ramp while being on the water, and then trying to get to it on land and realizing that there's no access to it. So again, that's another one of the cool things that we provide there. Getting into some of a little bit more technical stuff, we'll look at the what we call the water layers next, which is essentially made up of CMAP is a partnership that we have with Navionics. Now you'll see the Navionics HD depth charts. That's only actually available in our app. You can utilize it on a phone or a tablet, but we don't have availability to it on desktop currently. So, but the Navionics HD depth charts is the same cartography that you would look at if you had Navionics mapping chip, or if you use the Navionics app in the past. It's the same cartography, and it really has, pretty much any contours that you'd want to see for really any lake across the country. But we have what is called CMAP, which is socially provided information. So there's not necessarily a lot of coverage everywhere on this. Like you'll see here on Mille Lacs, there's, a lot of areas that are kind of spotty. But again, all this is submitted by, actual users of CMAP. So again, that's why you'll see some of this coverage can be a little bit spotty in some places. But I'm just going to give you a reference. There's also a vegetation layer and then a bottom hardness layer as well. So, those two are really interesting, because that really gives you a good idea of what areas are harder bottom versus that, kind of softer bottom. You can see this kind of shading here from that darker red to, some of this lighter orange, showing that difference from hardness, like your, rock or gravel, things like that, to mud, clay, those type of bottoms, which, can be a huge factor, sometimes when out there on the water. Then, of course, vegetation too is, typically holds fish of most any species, and, can be really, really good areas to target and fish as well. Um, then here we'll look at, this is the water temperature layer that we have. So again, this shows you the water temperature on a variety of different points throughout the lake. It's really, really helpful, especially, during the spring of the year when fish are, in kind of a transitional period. They're starting to migrate into some of those shallower water areas, and starting to look to spawn. So, you can actually see this and be able to see what the water temperature is at different points throughout the lake. And if you actually highlight the lake itself, but just by clicking on it, you'll actually see this slider that'll pop up here at the bottom of the screen, and you can actually go back and look. So the most current data that we have recorded is from May 12th here that we're looking at now, but we can actually go back all the way to April 26th and see what the water temperature was then. So again, that's another way that you can really look and see, how the conditions have changed prior to, your fishing trip, and can be really, really valuable information. If you find potentially some areas that have been warmer, over the past couple of weeks, and, continue to stay warm, then, those could likely be holding more fish than some of the other areas that have, stayed cooler during that period. So again, that's another one of the really cool map layers that we have. And this is all actually collected by satellite. So, we get refreshed information every couple days on, pretty much all these lakes across the country, as these satellites orbit. So it's, again, it's a really, really cool and valuable piece of the mapping that we have there that's available through Pro.
All right, Ricky, I'm going to jump on here. I got 3 questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one question is, are the hot baits only driven based on angler input?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. When looking at the featured hot baits, so these hot baits are actually just pulled based on the inputs that we give. Like, for instance, here there's 23 featured hot baits, and we have the largemouth bass selected and the spring selected. So in a case where, let's say, if we, maybe if we picked a species that wouldn't be, I think it's just showing species that are reported on. We really have, an array of reports, especially here in Minnesota. But if you're going into a lake where maybe we don't necessarily have any reports or data, I'm trying to see if I can find. So you'll see here on this where it just shows no featured hot baits found. So all of this stuff is actually, reported from, actual fishing reports. So we don't, necessarily fill it in with, just whatever, products we want to, or anything like that. So yeah, anytime you see that with the featured hot baits on the side, that's, actual product recommendations from real anglers and filed reports.
Cut out. The next question I have for you, can you use any color settings on the map setting? Like adjusting, I don't know, maybe it was I think it was during when you were talking about hardness, you kind of the different colors.
Yeah. So as far as on the water layer specifically, like with the CMAP contours and things, that we don't have the ability to change that coloring any. So those really with all the layers, there's not any ability to actually change the color configuration on those, unfortunately.
All right. And then a question about where the vegetation information comes from, or if it's somehow real time. Is it like satellite, or is it some sort of surveys?
Yeah, so the CMAP information is actually from it's the company Navionics, and it is actually it's to the best of my understanding, it's reported by users through their Lowrance electronics. So that's how you'll see, like, some of these. It's almost kind of interesting. You see these lines right here, almost like a boat just kind of made a couple of passes and recorded. So that's how I know for a fact the bottom hardness and the contours are done. Is it, it's almost kind of like, if you ever looked at color, sonar, it, shows that differentiation on the bottom, kind of similar to this red scale. And that's how that's collected, is through those electronics. But now the water temperature and the water clarity, both. This is kind of the water clarity layer as well. Those are collected from satellites. So yeah, the CMAP stuff is through Navionics, through individual anglers electronics, and then the water temperature and water clarity is satellite.
That's neat. You guys are able to pull from multiple sources. And I love that you have the fish data stuff. So you're kind of tying into the lake finder stuff. You don't have to bop around from different sites. So good questions, ladies. Keep them up. I'll let you move on, Ricky.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. Now, with that specifically too, with that survey data, there was one other thing that I wanted to go to. Sorry, I lost my place. I was on that page before. So one of the things too that I just wanted to point out that, is I know we've got a lot of multi-species anglers here. So when you're actually looking at these species overviews, we actually have these little purple tabs up at the top now that will show you what we call the lunker potential. So essentially for each one of these species, whatever the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources classifies as a trophy, length, then any of these lakes that have, actual survey data to support that there's, good potential to catch that species and that size, we show them here. So, like for instance, common carp, it doesn't show on Lake Minnetonka. There's necessarily a lunker potential, if you will, but it does show that for muskie and northern pike based on the survey data as well. So again, that's another really cool tool if you're looking for, trying to figure out what lake you want to go to, or even, what species that you want to potentially go out and target. It's a really useful tool to see where, you best potential could be. One of the other things that I wanted to showcase here too, we kind of went through some of these water layers, but the weather layers themselves are very cool, and I think a couple of these may actually be some of my favorites. One being the wind specifically. Whenever you turn this wind radar on here, if you can actually see, you'll see these pins that are moving across the screen here, and it's actually showing you what direction the wind is blowing, and based on the color, it will actually show you the intensity too. So if I click there, it will actually, if you click on any section of the map, once you have the wind layer turned on, it will actually show you the direction that the wind is blowing and the speed as well. So that's, really, really helpful information to know, just not from a fishing perspective, but, even a safety perspective. But, taking it a step further, one of the things that's really cool is we actually have the ability now to forecast the weather for wind especially. So just kind of we'll look at the 7-day forecast here, for instance. And if you hit play there, you'll actually see the wind change, and you can stop this at different points throughout. So, if you're, we're, if we're looking at going out on Saturday, you can actually slide that to whatever time of the day that you may potentially be out there. And you can actually see, that's what the wind is going to be looking like, the direction and the speed for that time. So again, it's another, I think it's a really, really cool tool there to help, one, be able to stay out of the wind and make sure you're safe, but two, if the particular pattern or techniques that you're using, maybe a little bit of wind helps that, then you know exactly what that wind's going to be doing. So, that the wind, we have obviously the weather radar too. I'll kind of zoom out so you can get a little bit better perspective of this. But again, I've got the 7-day forecast selected here, so you can actually hit play and see what that forecast is going to look like. throughout the next 7 days. Just like you would in a weather app or something like that. And it's, for me, it's really valuable to be able to have that and, pin it down to a specific time when I know when I'm going to be out on the water. Um, then we have storm cells. Again, that's kind of just a similar variation of the radar. And then lightning strikes is one too that I find really helpful. Because lightning can be something very, very dangerous on the water. Um, I don't see any here currently. Let's see if I go back down this way. You can kind of see, like here, just for instance, but you can actually, Melissa, can you see these little white pins here that are popping up?
Yep, I can see them. They're flashing, sort of.
Yeah, perfect. So that's it looks like you can see a lot better on your end, but that'll actually show you where lightning strikes have actually been recorded there locally. So if you see a lot of lightning strikes that are getting really close to you, it's best to try to get off the water or get somewhere that you're safe, maybe underneath a bridge, something like that. So again, that's another layer that can be really valuable and especially helpful from a safety standpoint. And the last thing I want to go over here is our waypoints feature that we have as well. Again, this is something that's super cool, that you actually have the ability not only to make waypoints from your Omnia app directly, but you also have the ability to import or export waypoints from your electronics to your Omnia app. So what's really cool there is, when you have that ability to bring them in from your electronics, you can actually look at all this previously recorded data and actually be able to see what the water temperature was on that waypoint 3 weeks ago. What the wind's potentially going to be looking like this upcoming weekend on your favorite waypoint or fishing spot. So that's something that we've introduced. It's been a few months now, but I'll just kind of give you a quick overview of how to set one of those up. So like I said, I just made that click there, and you can actually in your settings on, like, if you're actually out on the water, you can go into your settings and allow the sorry, I'm blanking on the GPS or whatever to let you know, and you can actually create a waypoint of exactly where you're at on the water. But just for this reference, I just kind of created one here on Minnetonka. You have the ability to name your waypoint whatever you want to, and then of course the latitude and longitude coordinates are here for you. And then we actually have some different markers that you can put. So if it's an area where you caught a fish, you may want to mark this fish, or potentially it's maybe just a structure that you want to mark. Maybe it's something sticking out of the water excuse me, that you potentially want to try to avoid. You can mark it here with the structure or with the hazard. So we have some different options there for you to kind of customize your waypoints and be able to organize them a little bit better. Excuse me. And with the waypoints too, we actually have the ability to, you can upload an image to your waypoint. So if there's you want to take a picture of a particular fish that you caught on that waypoint, or something that we do here where I'm at in Kentucky is our lakes will fluctuate up and down quite a bit. So we'll actually take pictures of rock piles and different brush piles that are actually exposed and visible on the bank in the wintertime, but in the summertime, they'll actually be submerged in 10 to 15 feet of water. So, anything where you would want to make a marker and then, reference it or indicate it with an image, it's a great tool to be able to do that there as well. And of course, you're able to create notes on that waypoint as well if you need any additional description or anything there. So again, that's one of the things that we've updated. That's been something really cool that a lot of people are taking advantage of. But outside of that, Melissa, that's really kind of what I wanted to go over and cover here on this. It looks like we've got a couple more questions. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has about Omnia or Pro itself. Like I said, again, this is a lot of this stuff here is available with Pro. or exclusive to Pro, but is also available for free as well. So feel free to go in there and check it out. Play around with some of the different features and things, and remember too, with the code WAM Pro, you can get Pro and get access to all of this stuff, anytime, and get that $50 gift card to spend as well. So.
Yeah, we got a couple more questions. So someone's kind of asking about water elevation changes. So like on a river system with dams, is that updated at all, or is there a way to see that? I'm not sure how that would work, but
Yeah, unfortunately, it's something we don't currently have at the moment, but it's something that we've been looking into. River elevation and any hydroelectric lakes, that have current generation that's recorded. The TVA down here where I'm from, that all the lakes they control in the Tennessee River, they'll provide current generation schedules, and elevation and things like that. So it's something we currently don't have at the moment, but it's something we're definitely working on.
Kind of another question about the information that in. Is there, if you get any misuse by people trying to trick, saying, oh, use this at this depth, and it just seems totally bunk. Do you try to kind of filter some of that out or take any action against those users?
Yeah. So believe it or not, actually, every one of our fishing reports there's actually an approval process. So when you file a fishing report and submit it, it doesn't necessarily just go to the site right away. We actually have a team of people that will review those fishing reports and verify that information, because so we've seen people try to file reports in the past, for sure, that didn't necessarily have any valuable information, or didn't seem almost like an impossible combination of maybe species and bait and things like that. So yeah, we monitor all of that stuff, to make sure that it's actual real valuable information from real anglers, that helps other anglers. So yeah, all of our fishing reports get approved.
Awesome. Another question: has tracking been added?
Tracking in what regard exactly?
If you have your, if you have your phone or you have it on the app, that's all that was asked. But like that, it would record maybe where you've been. I know, we have a lot of ice anglers that use tracking. They'll take one path out on their snowmobile, make sure if it's dark, they kind of follow the same path back.
Okay,
So
yeah,
waypoints, could you track like a path that you took?
Yeah, you could create a waypoint for any location on the map that you want to, but there's not necessarily a trail or like a live tracking, if that would make sense. So I guess does that answer the question, Melissa?
Yeah, I think that's what it's getting at. Like I mentioned, for ice fishing or people that are trying to go back to a spot safely. I know people use the tracking features to, if it's dark and you took your one path that you were able to get across, more in the ice, I think, but
okay.
Or on a giant lake up, if you're in a big lake and trying to navigate like this through all those bays, like, okay, which way did I go? I could see that being helpful as well.
Okay, yeah, and that makes perfect sense. Yeah, it won't necessarily show a trail of where you've been throughout, but you could in theory create waypoints ever so often to kind of make your own trail. But that, yeah, but we don't have anything like that currently. But that's a really good call out. I'd like to, because me being based out of Kentucky, our lakes never freeze up down here, so it's kind of a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Another one, how many regular users does the Omnia Pro or the app have?
Oh, wow. I would hate to guess. It's within the thousands. For sure. As far as just, I don't know how many people we have that would maybe solely use the app. There's a lot of value in having the app and the desktop itself too, because there are some a little bit different capabilities, and there's a lot of personal preference too. We try to have as much crossover as we can. All the things we provide on the app. We want to try our best to provide that same kind of experience on desktop too. But as far as the app itself, it's in the thousands, but I would hate to guess a specific number.
Yeah. So we have a not so tech savvy member that what's your sales pitch to her for Get Pro? I've been on it, and I think it's pretty straightforward, and there's I think you can go as far into the details as you want, but I think there's a lot of information easy at your fingertips. And like you said, if you're not sure what kind of baits people use in certain areas of the states, that stuff you can just grab right off your website. But what about the non-tech savvy people?
Yeah, like I said, with if you're not really tech savvy, when you go to our site, or like I said, I wish I could showcase the app itself, because it's really simplified as well. But with this traditional experience here, you can just simply go to our website at omnia.com and search for anything. Whether it's if you want to look at video content or things like that, or if you want to search for products specifically, you're able to do that here in the search bar. And again too, we have all these tabs up here if you're just wanting to kind of look at it from a shopping experience itself. But as far as things go for the map itself, if you're not necessarily tech savvy, that's something like I said, I could definitely help with if you have any specific questions on some things. But I think the best thing is if you just take whatever you're most comfortable with, whether it's your phone, tablet, or computer, and just maybe start just on the lake that you're currently on, and play around with it from there. It's something that there's a lot of information that's provided, but we try our best to make it as easy of an experience as possible, learning excuse me, not just the information that you want to know, but also how to navigate it. And excuse me, I'm feeling under the weather today. But yeah, too, with talking about Pro specifically, if you even have no interest really in some of the tech side of things, if you just don't really care so much and stuff about the map, if you use the code WAM Pro, get that $50 gift card for your $59 subscription for the year. Just getting that 10% cash back and credit alone, you spend $100, you've essentially made your money back there between the gift card and just the credit alone. So, just on the tackle purchasing side alone, that and the free shipping, it's, if you just want the product, being able to order those alone, it's still a great deal to have Pro just on that side of things. And we also have a lot of deals and promotions throughout the year that are exclusive to Pro members. Like, there'll be opportunities to earn double points on certain products. With our, we're actually having a Memorial Day sale right now that has double credits that you can see here right now. So it's not exclusive to anything. You get double points on everything. So it'd be, 20% back that you're getting instead of the 10 just by being a Pro member. So, yeah, I'd say that's kind of my answer. If you're not tech savvy and wanting to learn a little bit more, I'd suggest just, starting with an area that you're familiar with, and, just playing around in the map, and, seeing what some of the different filters do and the different layers. And, like I said, anyone that has any questions or anything, like I said, feel free to reach out to me and let me know if I can help on a technical support side, or just answering any questions in general.
Yeah, I think that's great. I've done some shopping on Omnia, and I liked, even when I was doing a little recon on some of the lakes, there was a couple lures that even you were out of stock of, but you still had the information there. You know, if you still have something like this in your tackle box, like we're not trying to push selling it, but we still want you to know that this might be a hot bait. I thought that was kind of neat. You know, you don't just drop off the information just because you're not making a sale. One more question here. Just got this. The Pro, wondering if there's a way to have the lake shown as a terrain that looks like a topography type map. Shows the humps and depths, not just by numbers.
Yeah, if you download our app on your phone or tablet, you can get access to the navionics that will show you the water itself. If you want to look at like the contours and things like that. And I'm glad they called it out, because one thing I wanted to show too is this top tab up here. We're looking at just the standard current view that we have, but we also have the satellite view as well. You see that there. So you can actually, zoom in here and, get a satellite view just like you would, on Google. So, you can actually see the docks and things here on Minnetonka. So that's super helpful if you're looking for stuff, on the bank and things like that. But we do have the Navionics cartography available through the app itself. And then, of course, too, we have the CMAP contours, which, Minnetonka is one that does show, a pretty good, has a pretty good coverage with that particularly. But yeah, if you look at the Navionics HD depth charts through the app, those are by far and away the most detailed ones.
Yep, I think that's kind of the map she's probably talking about, the typical lake map. Yeah, that's nice.
That's a great question.
Yeah, we got a lot of good questions. One other question: do you get access to a phone app and a tablet app with one subscription?
Yeah. If you have the subscription, you can have it on as many devices as you want to. You can have it on your phone, tablet. If you have an additional tablet, like I said, just as long as you log in, there's no limitation or anything there.
All right, we'll give a little bit more time here to see if there's any questions. Just want to take the opportunity to thank Ricky for joining us. This was great. I hope ladies are taking advantage of this deal that we have through WHAM, and I appreciate you being a sponsor of WHAM. And so I don't see any more questions currently coming in. A lot of comments that they love the wind feature. Also, some other ones here. Yeah, just kind of a lot of excitement about the different features that there are. I like the lightning strike thing as well, because I've been out on a boat in some bad situations that if I had this, I probably would have been off the lake. And it was on Lake Minnetonka, actually. So I have 3 names. So thanks, ladies, that joined us. Jean randomly picked 3 names for us tonight. Either message me or I'll message you, and I have the code, $20 gift card to go buy any of the hot baits that you find on your lake. First name is JC Coolish. Second name, Jen Williamson. And the third name is Nikki Adams. So I can add them in the chat once we get off as well, in case you are no longer on the call. But yeah, a lot of excitement, a lot of thank yous, Ricky. Thank you for supporting WHAM. Excited to use it this year. So yeah, again, if anybody has questions, I can help connect you to Ricky. He seems so helpful, and I'm really glad that he was able to join us tonight and teach us some stuff. So, all right. Any last parting words?
I really appreciate the opportunity, and if anyone has any questions or anything at all, anytime, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I know there's a lot here, and there's, like I said, a lot I wasn't able to cover. So feel free to let me know if there's anything I can help with. Questions is, if it's something about products or this map and some of the information and stuff we provide, by all means let us know. Any feedback or questions we can get just helps us be better at what we do. So we encourage as much of that as we can get.
Yeah, I think feedback is a good part too. As you're using these things, like what's maybe not as easy that you wish was a little easier.
Yeah.
Everybody has different abilities in working with technology. So glad you're open to hearing feedback as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ricky. I'm going to end it, and I'll follow up with any questions anybody has.
Awesome. That sounds great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, ladies.